Hello everyone, welcome back. Nigel here again. Part 9. Here we are again, part 9 of this Takom Mark IV tank build in the German captured scheme. I'll show you a picture of on the box. There she is there. So yeah, that's how she's going to look. We're nearly there. I've built these guns as I showed you yesterday, and I just need now to clean up these seams, which we're going to do now. So I'll show you how to clean these seams up. I've done one, and already I've noticed that I need to get some Mr. Surfacer in there just to fill that gap up. Yes, I know it's World War I. Yes, I could scag it up and make it all rough, but I want to get it right before I start to mess things up. So and I'm sure that on the real tank there wouldn't be a seam there, so I want to get rid of that seam and make sure that it's all good. I've also done this one side as I showed you yesterday. I need to get the other side done, and then we've got the monstrous job of getting those pins to go through the. There's a pin that goes through the bottom, and then it will pin into these holes here, like so, and then they'll sit there, and then the shields will go up around the outside. So that one's already done, so we'll take these three, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, blah, blah, blah. We'll take the middle one. Yeah, let's take the middle one. So what we got here, if you can see on there, there's a seam down there where this is made up of 3 parts. If I show you at end, you can see you've got 1, 2, 3 parts. So what we need to try and do is get rid of that seam. This has been drying for, I don't know, 12, 15 hours. We need to try and get this removed without sort of using any filler or anything if we can. So I'm going to take the smooth side of a green floory skinny sander and just going at 45 degrees and keeping the stick at an angle. So if you go like this, you'll start to dig trenches. What I'm doing is I'm doing this basically, and I'm in the correct way. The way I was taught as an engineer to file rads is to go like this. If you want to see what I'm doing, it's like that. That's the correct way to file a radius, not like that. That's the correct way. Sorry to do some camera. That's the correct way. So if I'm going to do it the correct way as an aerospace engineer would be taught to do it, which is how Rolls-Royce taught me, that's the correct way. But this is a plastic model, so what I'm doing is I'm just very, very gently rubbing the sanding stick and spreading it out a bit so that I see that seam disappear. And you can see that on there's a white line, and that white line will begin to disappear as I go deeper. And I'm not going to go totally until it's totally disappeared, just until it's almost gone, like that. A little bit more on the bottom there. Okay, and then with this lovely soft blue, you can see how it deforms while it's sanding. These things are bloody lovely. And then just, here we go, just giving it a gentle rub, and we can see that in the middle there we've still got a white line, and I think that's probably a bit much. In fact, that might be where it's not strongly glued. That's where a spoon nib was, I think. So that's going to need a spot of Mr. Surfacer in there. So let's just do the same on this one, keeping the gun out of the way. These guns are very floppy, they're just going to hang down when it's in the tank, I think. So I'll have to do something about that. Maybe put a lump of blue tack on them or something. Or if you've got any tips on how I can make them more sticky, then I'd be interested to know. So I'm not putting any pressure on it at all. And if you notice, I'm spreading it out, so what I don't want to do is end up just sanding that part there. I want to be able to sand the whole area. So if you kind of go around here as well, it kind of blends it all in. Yeah, I don't really want to go sanding too much more than that. What I don't want to do is end up with a massive gap, because this fits in behind a shield. I don't want to sand it all away. So there we go, that's ready for a bit of Mr. Surfacer. And now I'm just going to take a flat sanding stick and just making sure the gun's out of the way. Just square off the ends. so when you look at it you've got no edges, and then using the coarse side of the green skinny sander, just do the same down here at the bottom. And there we have it, that's ready. I just put a little tiny drop of Mr. Surfacer on those seams now and they'll be gone. I want to take a bit more off the top of there. There we go, a bit of Mr. Surfacer on the top and bottom as well. And that'll be that. So I'll get the others done now and see you after the Mr. Surfacer's on there. One more thing I mustn't forget. I've got these all done now with the Mr. Surfacer. Mustn't forget to fit this front machine gun, because once the sides are on, I'll never get it in unless I cut the stock off, I guess, and just glue the barrel in. But no, I'm going to put this in now. So it's going to go in like so. And now that's in there like that. And I'm just going to get a drop of Tamiya extra thin and put it on the stock of the gun, and hopefully it'll run down in without. I'm not sure that's done anything. What I'm trying to do is get it to go onto that ball without touching the outside, and I want to make sure it's in there securely because I don't want to just touch the thing and have it fall back in. Maybe better off putting some glue on from the outside here. Just touch it. Yeah, probably too much glue there, but I want to make sure it's in there. I don't want to be having, if that falls back in once it's built, then we're buggered, so to speak. So there we go. So that's in there. I'm going to have to find some way of making these guns less, less likely to just drop. Because these here, if you look, if I hold the actual mounting, they just drop. So I think I might put some elastic easy line and tie the stocks together, so they'll be held together in that position, and then you'll still be able to move them, but for painting, because I don't need to be able to play with my model. Yeah, so that's that there. I suppose really what I could do now is start looking at fitting these sides. I guess they're going to fit on like so. Yeah. Right, now I'm going to assemble this right turret assembly, this lower part here. This is the left. This is the left hand side already done. In fact, what I will do, just to make sure I don't get them mixed up, left. I'll write on the back of one of these doors. Right. So, bit of a sort of dodgy assembly this. There's no real positive location on any of it, and it's sort of a bit ambiguous how it all goes together. So I'm just going to do this lower bit here. I've got the parts here all cut off the sprues and cleaned up. So let's just go on and get this together. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is put this piece on the bottom of here. And straight away I'm noticing I haven't cleaned up a sprue nib there. So we'll get that cleaned up. And these actually basically glue onto the side of the tank in those recesses there. They glue on there. So yeah, the backs need to be nice and flat. We've also, I think I've already mentioned, we've got to move some of the bolt or rivet detail, whatever it is there, to actually fit these on. So yeah, there's also a bit of a sprue nib still there. So right, let's put this bit on here. Now this piece fits on the bottom like this, and as you can see there's no real positive location for it, so I just assume that the back of it needs to be flush where it juts up against the side of the tank. So I'm just going to put a small dab of glue on each end and then just quickly get this up to it like so. As you can see, it's a bit of a nightmare to say the least. I'm gonna be careful. I don't really want to make a mess of it because it's quite visible. Of course, because of those ribs on the back, you can't push it down flat on the bench, so you kind of need to just play with it a bit. I'm sorry if my hands are in the way, you can't see what I'm doing, but it is quite I don't think fiddly is the word. I don't mind fiddly, you know, like where it's called from. Those guns were quite fiddly, but it's bloody pointless. They could have just had some guns sticking in through some polycaps and that, and they wouldn't have kept dropping then either. So yeah, they could have made that a lot simpler. But then if they've got another kit in the wings with full interior, then why go to all the hassle of making special molds just to satisfy miserable, grumpy old men? Why would they do that? So okay, that's pretty flat, so that's on there now, and it's pretty flush with the back. Worst comes to worst, if it doesn't fit, I'll slice it off and start again. Now these doors, they go on, so it's going to be this one first. So I'm just going to plonk this one in the hole, like so. It should just sit there and rest on the top. So just put a double glue on each hinge, and then rest it against the hinge like so. And then put the other door on up against it, like so. Double glue on each hinge. Push the door on. And then on the back, what we should see is the doors have shut together like this. And there we go, that's them in place. Not a perfect fit, but they're on there. And then what I'm going to do here is just put a tiny amount of glue on the back, just to help them stay together. I'm not going to push down so I don't want anything to ooze out. Remember, oozing on this kit, oozing glue is a no-no because it looks like a weld and there are none. So that's that. That's that done. Oopsie daisy. So there we go, that's that done. Right. Now then, this needs to go on, and once again, there's no real positive location, there's just a tiny little flange on there that sort of sits in there. And you've got these two tiny little tabs on the end that go up into these tiny little recesses, and here's it. It's all a bit, I don't know. If I'd have taken my time and thought about it longer, I think there's probably a better assembly process, like probably fit this to the side of the tank and then add all this after, rather than make all this off the tank. Right, I've done these guns now and smoothed out these areas around these shields, this armour, so they're all nice and smooth now. You can see that one's got a bit more left in it than the others. So now we've got to glue them down to this base. Now I've done one just to try it, and it's nothing short of pretty bloody awful. The pin that holds it goes into there, and it's like a, I mean, you can see that movement there, it's like a prick in the top hat. Takom have really got this kit wrong with pins and bores and stuff. It seems that every pin they make is just tiny compared to the hole it has to go into, so you get loads of play, and really that's all that's going to support this gun. So really I think the best thing to do is just glue them in place, you know, put them at an angle and glue them in place, because I've just glued this pin in here and the glue is oozed up, and it's, I'll see what happens once it's set. It may break away, but I can see me ending up just breaking it off, fitting a rod in here that actually fits properly, and just drilling it and fitting it properly, because you know it's garbage really, it's just rubbish. So remember I was saying you don't need to fit the pin as they do in the instructions here. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the pin, put in a pair of tweezers so it sticks out the bottom like that, and then get the gun, lift the barrel up. I don't know how I can get this so you can see it. If you leave the barrel down, the shield covers the hole. If I lift the barrel up, you can see the hole reappears. There you go there. So I'm going to lift the gun up, and then using the tweezers, drop this pin in there. And now you can, I don't know if you can see that that's gone in the hole. It's gone in the hole there. So you've got the pin now sticking out the bottom. And then I'm going to put a drop of glue in here, like so, and put the gun in. Now, the chances of that staying in there are pretty much zilch, because the hole that the pin is going in is massive. So I'm pinching that there with the tweezers, just holding it in place, let the glue go sticky, and then just wait and see what happens. I suppose the best thing to do is pose them at an angle you're going to have them at. You don't want them all at exactly 45 degrees because that'll look a bit false, but that one's just off of forward. So this is the right hand side. Yeah, so the rear one is just off of like rearward, and the front one's like 30 degrees. As I say, we'll see how this looks once it's all glued up and everything, and if necessary what I'll do is just break them off, and then I'll sit them on a post. So now it's time to glue on these outer shields. The guns, I don't think they're going to turn, but it's not a toy anyway. But you know, if Tammy had done this, there would have been a pin on this part and a poly cap inside there, so you push this down, it would have turned and it would have held it rigid. With this, with everything being so sloppy, it's quite difficult to get it all lined up. But inside here there's some scallops that hold. If you look, here's one I've done earlier, Blue Peter style. You can see you've got these raised ridges here that the actual deflector, the armor sits in. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if it did move, it would probably scratch all the paint off here anyway, so I don't know. It's just all a bit of a disappointment after, you know, you've spent all that time doing all that work, getting all the guns done and everything, and now I'm not sure how this fits. I'm guessing that goes. Oh, it's thick part at the top, numpty. So that goes like that, that's it. So we'll just put one strut of glue in there because this could move fore and aft like so. So you need to get it central. And then put these end pieces on. These corners are going to have to be dressed up after the glue's gone off, because I don't think there's supposed to be a joint there. So just push those two together. There's a problem there, there's something, and it's the problem I've caused. I've left a tiny little bit of a nub on there. So that should fit on there lovely now. There we go. Yes, it's always worth checking with a lot of these modern kits, if when you put it together something doesn't go right, it's always worth checking, because 9 times out of 10, and normally with like the likes of Tamiya, 10 times out of 10, if something doesn't fit or it doesn't look right, it's probably your fault. It's probably something you've done wrong. And there's a piece of debris there, let's get rid of that. And again, on this area, because when you look up here you can see there's gaps you can see through, I'm going to have to spray all this in here, dark grey or black or something, before that really doesn't want to stick, that corner, before I glue this to the side of the tank, because you don't want to look through there and see, once again, tan plastic. It's really weird. For some reason that doesn't want to stick. It's like the Tamiya Extra Thin is not doing anything. How strange. It's really, look, it just comes apart. It's like, there's plenty on there. Doesn't seem to be melting it at all. That's weird. Right. Let's put this one on. And there we have it, all glued together, all ready to go, set hard. Right, moving forward in the instructions, I did notice in the box, this is all we've got left now, and those parts aren't used, and only those shackles will be used, and that's it. Bit of photo etch, bit of chain, some decals, and obviously the tracks. So yeah, I saw these two bits lying in the box still on their sprue, so I thought, well, I best get these done. This is the unditching beam. I'd like a bit of help on this if anybody could help me. I always thought unditching beams were logs, but this looks like it's sort of fabricated. Can somebody tell me what this is, please? Is it like a large piece of wood with a metal plate each side, or? I'd be interested to know, because when it comes to weathering, I obviously don't want to scratch it up and put rust on if it's made of wood, and likewise I don't want to give it bare wood effect if it's made of steel. So if anybody knows, without me doing a bit of research, please leave a note in the comments. So as you're going to see in these instructions, they're telling you to assemble this in a certain way, and when you look at it end on, I'll put it the same way as it in there, you can see it's got a shape to it. You can see that it's angled off on this side, so I need to make sure that it goes together the correct way, and there we go, there is the correct way, and there's a piece of photo etch to go around it as well, and there we go, that's the ditching beam together. So that, my friends, is pretty much it, other than the tracks and a few little bits and pieces. Like I've glued one side onto the main hull, as you can see there, and it's didn't really want to fit in this back corner very well, so to do a bit of cleaning up there. And then I'll fit this other side on. We've got these rails that the ditching beam runs over. I've got to stick these guns together, and then they fit on the sides there. I've got to remove some of this rivet detail to allow these to fit, and then that will be those done. Do some of these guns to stop them just keep dropping. I'm tempted, I might even just glue them in place, you know. I don't know, maybe they would have dropped naturally. Would they have dropped like that naturally in service? Let me know in the comments below. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you back in a minute and we'll get it all finished up, and then we'll make a start on the tracks. I've now dummy fitted these onto the tank, and basically fitted the roof sections. And again, the fit here is, well, it's not brilliant, it's okay. So what I've had to do is put some Mr. Surfacer over all the joints, and hopefully that's going to soak into that gap, and then when I go over with a cotton bud and some acrylic thinners, then basically it'll take that away and leave, I'll probably sand these bits here to be fair, but yeah, it'll leave the Mr. Surfacer in the gap, so I'll still have like a bolted joint. I'm not after a perfect joint because these are basically separate bolted panels, but there was a definite gap there and it sort of varied from end to end, So yeah, I'll get all this put back in the box now. Get these instructions put away. Got all this here ready to go. Let this go off now, and then I'll get on with putting these main parts together. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and please like. If you don't like and you dislike, tell me why. Any suggestions, any tips, any knowledge, any advice? I would like to know about this ditching beam, if any of you guys can help me. Is this wood and metal, or is it just wood, or whatever? And yeah, that's basically about that. So I'll get this together later on. When I come back, it'll be part 10. As I say, we'll get this together, start on the tracks, and we'll go from there. Alright, so thanks for dropping in. Look forward to your comments and everything, and please drop in, keep your eye out. Another day or two and I'll have another part up.